All right, so now we finished front body locking. We're going to go into side body locks now. Side body locks are interesting because they are by far the most effective way of body lock passing someone, but no one ever really talks about them. Whenever people reference body locks, they reference either rear body locks from standing position or front body locks from standing position, or they look at front body locks from a jiu-jitsu perspective, and they look at standard body lock, 2 butterfly hooks in, knees around the rib cage, and they start to talk about it from there. But side body locks are far more effective because of the fact that your partner has no meaningful connection of their legs to you. And if you can get to a side body lock, you're almost guaranteed to pass. The problem is everyone knows that bad things start to happen when they get outflanked. So it's actually much harder to set up a side body lock than it is to set up a front body lock. What we're going to be looking at is side body locks, and we're going to be breaking them down into 2 distinct groups: head inside body locks, side body locks, and head outside side body locks. So head inside side body locks, like so, where I'm flanking outside my partner's I'm outflanking my partner, and I have my head inside, and head outside side body locks where I'm flanking my partner, and I have my head stuck on the outside like so. Okay. Now this is the less favorable of the 2. I always prefer to have my head on inside side body locks like so I can start to get my head higher than my partner's and put her back on the floor and start to win the battle for a pin. And we'll talk about this more as we go. But just a general introduction to side body locks and how we use them effectively to get past our partner's legs. It's by far the most effective body lock you can use to pass your partner's guard because your partner has no meaningful connection whatsoever to your legs. All right, so we're going to talk about the structure now of this side body lock series here. First, we're going to split things into distinct groups of head inside side body locks and head outside side body locks. So the format first is going to be we'll run through head inside first, and then we'll run through head outside second. But the series of how we're going to do things will be the same for inside and outside. We're going to first start off with entrances into side body locks from the knees. Then we're going to look at entrances into side body locks from the feet. Then we're going to look at conversions from a front body lock into a side body lock. And I think this is what most of the rolling footage was built around, was conversions into side body locks. And then once we get to a side body lock, we're going to look at either passing if our partner turns towards us, or taking the back if our partner turns away from us. Not taking the back, but showing how to move the turtle position, and then you're an attacking turtle or attacking the back in different area. So we're going to just show if your partner turns away, then this is how you control them long enough to get to a turtle or get a hook in and things like that. So this is going to be the general overview, and we're going to start with initial entrances, conversions, and then passing or taking the back. We'll go through everything first, head inside, and then we'll do the same format for head outside. All right, so let's look at now going into side body locks, head inside from the knees. We'll look at how to flank our partner from a kneeling position. Okay, the first thing I have to make sure of is that my partner doesn't have sticky hooks inside my legs. If my partner has sticky hooks, it's going to be hard for me to get my legs outside. So I play a game where I'm playing with relatively long arms from here. I'm playing a hand fighting game where my head is in good position. I'm keeping my head in front of my partner, so when she goes to scoot towards me, it's difficult for her to come towards me and form a connection. Anytime I see sticky hooks come in, I'm always posting on my partner's feet, moving out and away, moving to the head, and I'm playing a game where I'm playing a relatively distanced game. Okay, so that my partner can't form a meaningful connection with her 2 butterfly hooks to the inside of my legs. Okay? Now, any grip that will allow me to get my partner's 2 knees pointing in the same direction is what I'm looking for. Okay? Right now, my partner's 2 knees point in opposing directions. I need her knees pointing in the same direction. So I can play a game where I come in, for example, I'm playing this cagey game, I'm hand fighting, and I post on my partner's hip like so, and I shoot my leg back. So my right hand posts, and my right leg shoots back like so. My head comes right to my partner's shoulder, so when she goes to come forward into me, it's difficult. And now from here, I just take my hand and I post to my partner's knee. As I do that, I just shoot my knee back and I shoot it right forwards like so. And I take my left knee around. We end up in a flank position like so. Now I just shoot my hands across to the far hip and I put my lock in place. So we play a game where we're playing this cagey game from here. We just shoot to our partner's hip and we shoot to the knee. Head goes to the shoulder. My head comes to the inside and now we're ready to play. She's trying to put hooks in. I'm playing this distance cagey game. And we're around to the side. Okay? This is a game where we play on 2 knees. We go right to our partner's hip, right to our partner's knee. Okay? We can play a game where we play the same game, but this time, instead of going on 2 knees, we pop up to the feet and we run a circle. So we start on the knees, we finish on the feet. So we go in, we're playing, we go to the same position, and now from here, I physically post to my partner's hip, and I just pop up to this position. Now I start putting pressure into my partner to get his shoulders behind the hips. Once the shoulders come behind the hips, this makes it easy to start spinning my partner. And then I drop right back down to the knees, and we have a body lock in place. We play a game, we're playing cagey. Instead of shooting the knee back this time, I physically put weight on my partner's hip. Now we're side body lock in place. Now we can lock our hands. We're going to outflank our partner. We can lock up. We can play a game where instead of posting on our partner's hip, we can post inside of our partner's knee and outside of our partner's knee. Like so. Where we kick a leg back, we use the same strategy as the previous 2. We either one, kick a knee back, hands up. Like so. Or you can put weight on the leg so we can pin the leg to the floor. So we just come in, we pop up, and we just run around the corner. And we lock up. And you don't have to play a stall like KGD. I can play a game where I'm right in the pocket from here. I'm threatening body locks. My partner's maybe doing a good job of stopping me. And then right away I back up and we here. Now she goes to come towards me. We can time that jump towards us, that overextension, and we can use an opportunistic approach to shoot past the legs. So anything that gets my partner's knees pointing in the same direction is what I need. I can't have them pointing out in opposing directions. So they play a game, go ahead. We run to a flank, we get the knees pointing in the same direction, and then from there, we're ready to go, okay? So now let's look at going into a standing position entrances. Same idea here. I need my partner's 2 knees pointing in the same direction. Everything is going to be built around me using a cross step with one of my feet. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen systematically attacking the guard, the first volume, first instructional, and we're always feinting with our lead foot as we spoke about. So I'm playing here, I'm hand fighting, I'm feinting with the lead leg, I'm threatening going inside, maybe I'm threatening dropping to a front body lock with my knee inside, and I'm playing a game. And now, when I'm ready to go, I can either post on my partner's knee, like so, and just run around to the side, so my head drops to the shoulder, and we go in and we lock. Or I play a game We're coming in here. We're hand fighting, we're moving, we're feinting with the lead leg. And I go and I post the hip. And now from here, I just run, and I drop. We can play a game where I sit my partner down. She goes to come up, instead of coming into a front body lock, as she comes up, I run a flank, and we're down. Anything that gets my partner's knees pointing in the same direction is what I'm looking for. Then we go in and we lock. Okay? So same idea, feinting with the lead leg, hand fighting, grabbing ankles, grabbing the head, passing elbows, grabbing the wrist, threatening front body locks, and boom, we outflank and we lock. This is, I think, a lot of what the rolling footage is about. We have someone who we have a body lock on, who we flattened out, and she tries to forward shift me to off balance me in a Sumigaeshi. Anytime my partner forward shifts me and the legs are extended towards me, I can always pass the legs across and switch over to a side body lock. Okay? Now, I can't unlock my hands, once again, I can't unlock my hands when I have a double overhook situation. If I have a double underhook or a double unders with a standard body lock, if I have a tight waist, I can do it. Even if I have an over-under, like so, my partner goes to forward shift me, I can do it, okay? But when I have double unders or double overs, I can't do it. So the only time I can't do this is when I have double overhooks. I can't unlock my hands at all. If I have over-under, that's one of the exceptions where, yes, I can unlock it briefly to pass the legs across. The idea is, as my partner extends her legs towards me, the extension will allow me to catch elbow to knee, like so, and use a hand assist to pass my partner's knee inside my hip, okay? So I flatten my partner out, whether I have a body lock or whether I have a tight waist, whether I have any kind of upper body grip, and we're in a position like so. Whenever I see my partner pull the knees to the chest and then go to extend me away, as this happens, I just extend my legs, I pass, and then I knee sweep. So that from here, my knee points precisely across my partner's legs, that her legs and my knee are perpendicular. And I end in this position like so. Now from here, I take my left leg in and I shelf my partner's legs up, and I open my right knee into a wide base of support like so. We've effectively moved from a front to a side body lock. So we're in here. We go in with the front body lock. We flatten our partner out. From here, I feel the forward shift coming. Maybe sometimes I feel like my partner's going to forward shift me, and maybe sometimes she forward shifts one time. My hands are caught underneath her, so the timing's off, and I can't get my hand out to do it. From here, I just flatten her out again. Now, this time, I know she's going to forward shift, so I unlock my hands. But I still keep my elbows close together, so it feels like my partner can't move, and she has to go into the forward shift. Now, as she goes to forward shift, just pass the knee across, and from here, my knee now points across my partner's legs. My left knee comes to my right knee, I shelf. Right knee opens, I lock, and now from here, we're ready to start working. One more time. I flatten her out. She goes to forward shift. And we have our inside, head inside, side body lock, like so. Let's look at converting from a failed Sumigaeshi. We looked at this a little bit before when our partner's knee accidentally slipped inside of our hip and we crushed the legs together. We can also use this off a hand assist when our partner tries to use a Sumigaeshi type action. Anytime I feel my partner's overextended on the Sumigaeshi, I can use a hand assist to pass the legs across, okay? So, whenever I feel, I go into body lock my partner, and whatever the case, maybe she forward shifts me, and then now from here, she's looking to use an overhook, and she's looking to go into a Sumigaeshi, where she goes to fall across, like so, and I feel the Sumigaeshi's getting me off balance, and she's looking to take me over. Whenever I see this, as my partner goes to hit the Sumigaeshi, I don't resist the Sumigaeshi. I actually bring my body forwards into the Sumigaeshi, and I move further forwards and upwards than she was expecting me to. What I need to do is I need to create a little disconnect between her left leg and my right hip. This will give me a lack of tension and allow me to make a pass. If I sit back onto my hips and she goes to do this, and I'm going to pass the leg across, the leg runs into my body. So instead, as she goes to throw me across, I feel I'm not going to be able to base out, and I feel like I'm going to get lifted with the Sumigaeshi. When I see this, the second I feel I'm going to go, I just lunge forward, and as I do that, I make the pass. So she goes to throw me, and now we post the head on the floor, we pass the leg through, and we come in, and if my partner just stays on her back, then I just pass the guard. So she has to sit up, and that's when my hands lock, and we're ready to go. Okay? So when I feel the Sumigaeshi is coming on, I just go with the Sumigaeshi, and I pass it across in the same hand assist method. So whenever I feel a Sumigaeshi is coming on, I just shoot my head to the floor and I raise my hips up. And as I do that, go ahead. And I just jump on by, and from here, we go in and we lock up. So whenever I see my partner goes to hit a Sumigaeshi, I just shoot my head to the floor. As that happens, I pass the leg through. And now from here, we're ready to go in and lock up. Okay? And we have our side body lock conversion off of an initial Sumigaeshi. Okay, let's look at one of the most important dilemmas we can talk about when using body lock passing. There's going to be a point where you start body locking all your friends, you start passing their guards, and they start to realize this is terrible, and if I allow my partner to lock their hands, I'm going to get beat. So what starts happening? If your partner plays with butterfly hooks and splayed knees, where her knees are open like so, and she plays a hand fighting game, if you're a good hand fighter, you're inevitably going to beat her in the hand fighting game, and you're going to expose the space between her knees, and you're going to fit your rib cage and your torso between that space, and you're going to front body lock her. So what everyone starts to realize is the second they start getting body locked over and over and over again, they say, if I keep my knees closer together, not that close, closer together, so that their knees are inside the width of my torso, and I go to come forward into a body lock, I run into the legs, and now I can't lock my hands. And even if I do, she just extends her legs, and my hand's open. The body lock is meaningless. So people are going to start to realize this, all right? So front body locks will be increasingly difficult. So my partner will play with close knees together, like so, and it'll be hard for me to come into a front body lock. But because the knees are so close together now it's the easiest thing in the world to outflank and go into a side body lock. Where now we come in, and we start going in and outflanking our partner. So when I see the knees are close together, it's going to be hard for me to go into a front body lock. But it's going to be pretty easy for me to start going into scenarios where I can outflank my partner and go into side body locks. Inevitably, your partner's going to be like, well, this is terrible. I'm not getting side body locked anymore. So what they're going to do is the second they feel the side body lock coming on, what does everyone do? They open up their knees and they splay them apart. And now from here, we can expose the space between the knees and shoot right into a front body lock. So you have to be able to play these off one another. If I see my partner's knees are open, front body locking is the way to go. If I see the knees are closed to a degree where I can't fit my torso between the knees and expose that space, side body locking is the way to go. So your job as a body locker, if you're looking to body lock pass, is to recognize your partner's knee position. The knee position is going to determine which body lock you use, front body lock or side body lock. If your torso can fit between the knees, you front body lock. If your torso cannot fit between the knees, you side body lock. And if you want to do one or the other, it's a simple game. If I want to front body lock my partner, but I can't, I threaten side body locks. The second I threaten a side body lock, those knees open, and I go front body lock. Maybe I don't want to do front body locks. Maybe I want to go right to a side body lock. The second I want to go to a side body lock, I threaten coming inside. I threaten going to a front body lock. The second I see that, my partner's knees come together, and boom. Now I can outflank our partner and move to a side body lock. You have to be able to play front body lock, side body lock dilemma if you want to reach your true potential as a body lock passer. All right, so when we have head and side body locks, let's look at our head positions that we're using. There are specific ones based around what my partner's trying to do. I want to negate movement of my partner in whichever direction they're trying to turn. Okay, so you're going to get two common reactions. One will be them explosively turning away from you and trying to give up the back for a short amount of time in order to regard. And one will be them explosively turning into you and trying to either shrimp away as hard as they can or bridge you over as hard as they can. Some kind of explosive movement is the most common types of movement you're probably going to find when you're in the situation. Okay, when we have our head on the inside with a side body lock, there's a simple rule we're looking to abide by. My partner will be on an elbow. We'll talk about why she would be on an elbow in a second. There's a simple rule we abide by. If my partner is trying to aggressively turn away from me, I put my ear on the near shoulder, like so. So this will slow her down turning away from me so she can't just explode up the turtle and stand up and get away from me. So the second I see my partner trying to turn away, I cover the near shoulder with my ear. So when she goes to turn, go ahead. Eventually she'll be able to do it. She'll be able to windmill the arm around, and she'll be able to turn away from me, but it'll be a delayed reaction and it'll slow her down. If I see my partner is aggressively turning into me and trying to move towards me, I take my ear to the far shoulder. So now if she tries to give a big bridge, because my base is slightly compromised because I have my arms trapped underneath my partner now. So if my head is on my partner's near shoulder and she gives a strong bridge and she aggressively turns towards me and she gives a strong bridge, you can get severely off balance from here. So the second I see my partner turn away, I go near shoulder. The second I see her turn into me, I go far shoulder. So if she goes to explode and bridge me over, the far shoulder can't move off the ground and she can't get an effective bridge going. In order for her to bridge strongly in this direction, she has to bring that shoulder far off the ground. No, bridge. And this is what takes me over, this shoulder coming off the floor. If I can pin that shoulder to the floor, go ahead, there's no longer any bridge. So we play a simple game where if I see my partner turning away, I go ear to near shoulder. If I see my partner turning towards me, I go ear to far shoulder. So whenever we get to a side body lock, it's going to be very tempting to just try to shoot to your partner's head and shoulders to get control of the upper body. But this is the wrong approach. Your partner, if they're not turning away from you, which you'll know right away, if they're not turning away from you, they're trying to regard and turn back into you. If you go towards the head, the knees will always come in to face you. Okay, so what's going to happen is, if I go into a side body lock, and I put my partner here, if I try to come up towards the shoulders, my partner will just invert the left knee, and now she'll lock in. And at the end of the world, you still have a body lock, you have your partner's legs shelved, but you're not passing your partner right away. What you are looking for is when you get to a side body lock, I want to crowd my partner's hips and shelf the leg on my left leg, like so. So I have almost a knee-elbow connection of my left elbow and my left knee here, like so. So now I can crowd my partner's hips sufficiently. When my partner goes to face me, there's no way she can do it, because there's no way this knee's going to invert and turn to face me. So when I get to a side body lock, my whole thing initially is to put my head in good position, like so, and to take my knee and elbow together underneath my partner's legs the best I can, and shelf my partner's leg up on my left leg in this case, my bottom leg. If I was on the other side, it would be my right leg, obviously. And to avoid my partner facing me and bringing the knees into an inverted position and bringing the knees back inside and back into a front body locking scenario. Her best bet from here is to turn this back into a front body lock and fight from there. If I can keep a side body lock, this is what I want, and I do it by crowding the hips. So let's look at the flat back rule. What is this rule? This is the rule where if my partner's back is flat on the floor, you've won the battle, you've passed your partner's guard, okay? You haven't solidified a pass and you're not able to attack your partner until you can effectively return your partner's back to the floor. If you shoot into a side body lock and your partner just relinquishes head height and just puts her back on the floor, now you've passed your partner's guard, okay? So your partner has to stay up on a hand or on an elbow in order to not get past. The second she relinquishes head height and she brings her back on the floor, or I can put her back on the floor in some way, you've won this battle and you have access to your partner's back, or you have access to a guard pass, okay? So once you've established a position, once you have your head in good position, once you have your legs in good position, and once you've solidified a side body lock, the number one goal you have is to get your head higher than your partner's and to put her two shoulder blades flush on the floor, or at least to put one shoulder on the floor to expose your partner's back, okay? If you can stay with this vision, keep these goals in mind, everything becomes much easier. Put at least one shoulder on the floor. If you put one shoulder on the floor, you've exposed their back. If you put two shoulders on the floor, you've pinned them. Either way, you need to get your head higher than theirs and put a shoulder or shoulders on the floor. That's how you pin people. That's how you take their backs, and that's how you win the battle from here. Her goal is to keep the back off the floor, the shoulders off the floor, the two shoulder blades off the floor, and to find some way to get you back in front, entangled inside of her legs, and recover and go into counterattacks or at least a regard. Let's look at the most simple, most effective, most efficient, and the easiest one to deal with. Someone who turns away from us, you outflank them like, oh, this is not good. Let me turn away and try to expose my back briefly, and then regard, or stand up and get away, whatever the case is. So I shoot to a side body lock, head inside, and my partner tries to explode away from it. All right? The first thing we have to look at is, does my partner have a whizzer or not? The only thing between me and her, between myself and her back, is the whizzer. So if at any point the whizzer comes off, you have access to her back one way or the other. So she has to keep a whizzer on if she doesn't want her back exposed. The problem is, if she keeps the whizzer on, she can't turn away from it. If she tries to turn, the whizzer holds her in place. So she has to take that whizzer off and take it out and around my head. So the first thing I want to do is I want to slow down her attempt to turtle. So I take my ear and I glue it to my partner's shoulder like so. So now when she goes to move away from me, it's a difficult thing. So now she really has to struggle to move out and away. The second she does that, I switch from looking at the camera with my right ear on my partner's shoulder, and I take my left ear and I glue it to my partner's back, like so. And now from here, I unlock my hands and I put a tight waist in place and I post my hand on the floor. The reason why I do this is because it allows me to build height. Okay, I want my head higher than my partner's as she comes to turtle position. Right now, I want to slow down her ability to turtle. So I put a deep tight waist in, I put my left ear on my partner's back, and I hang off my partner's body. So when she goes to move out and away from me, it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. The only way that my partner can physically get up, assuming I have weight over my partner's hip. If there's no weight over my partner's hip, she just keeps her legs right here, and she just moves up to turtle position. But assuming there's weight over my partner's hip, the only way that she can physically get up, it's physically impossible for her to get up to a turtle position unless she scissors her legs. And then I can't hold her down, but I can drastically slow her down by putting weight over the hip. So now when she goes to get up to turtle position, she has to scissor the legs. If she tries to get up without doing it, it's impossible. She has to scissor the legs. And as she does that, now she can come to turtle position and she can get up. Okay? The problem is, I have a path of known reactions. We talked about this in the Attacking Turtle series. I know exactly what she has to do with her body in order to turtle. Okay? So now, knowing this, right now, there's no space for my hook to come in because her right knee is to her chest. When I start hanging off my partner's body and she goes to start scissoring those legs, she has to shoot the right knee away from her chest. And now as she goes to come up, it'll be very labored. She'll drag me up with her. And now, because the knee's away from the chest, I can just shoot my first hook in. And now from here, it's a pretty easy thing. I have one hook in. I need to fire the second hook in, or we can play our power half game and we can go into attacks from here. Okay? Absolute worst case scenario, we miss the hook, and now my partner's in a turtle position. I have a tight waist, and I'm ready to attack my partner from turtle position and take her back. Okay, but it's pretty easy to put your hook in as your partner goes to get up. So to get into a side body lock, partner tries to aggressively explode away from me. I put my head in position. This slows her down. The head slips by. I switch from right ear to left. I unlock my hands and I post. I hang off my partner's body. from here, she goes to start moving away from me. She pulls me up with her. And now from here, we have one hook in. We're ready to start breaking my partner down with power halves or however else we want to do it. And we have attacks and clear pathways to our partner's back. So if I find that from here, I get to a side body lock, head inside, my partner goes to explode away, and she moves at my pace. I don't move at hers. I play a negation of movement. I'm not trying a game where I'm not trying to make myself more athletic than her. I'm not chasing her. My goal is to make her less athletic than I am. All right, let's look at a very basic pass once we're actually in a side body lock and putting our partners back on the floor. The first thing I'm going to look to do is I'm going to play with different hand positions. Okay, first of all, we're going to look at just a generic side body lock where we have our two hands outside of our partner's hip and we have our elbow outside of our partner's leg like so. All right, my partner's going to be on the elbow and she's going to be down in a situation like so. All right, if she's not down on the elbow, I can always put her on an elbow by pushing into my partner's shoulder or turning the elbow to the floor. When she goes to go back, when she goes to keep that hand up, I just use my ear to physically push into the shoulder and her elbow will always come down to the floor. Okay? Now, I'm looking to put my partner's back on the floor. So I'm going to initially test her. The only thing I'm going to look to do from here is I'm going to look to use my ear connected to the shoulder to just simply drag my partner's shoulder down to the floor like so. Okay? She will be always keeping a whizzer in, assuming she doesn't want to get her back taken. She'll have a whizzer in place, and she'll be trying to turn away from me. If she turns towards me and puts her back on the floor, then I just put my ear on the far shoulder. But assuming she wants to stay up, she has to be giving me a pull-back reaction in this direction. So from here, I just drag my partner's shoulder down to the floor, then we switch head position, and now we have our pass into side control. Okay, so that's the basic one. Now, getting a little bit more advanced, my partner's going to be trying to shrimp away from me as this is happening and face me and invert the right knee. So she's going to be trying to move out and away, to shimmy her legs out and away. Exactly, and shrimp and bring the knee back inside. And one of the best ways to prevent this is to switch my grip from a position where I have my elbow outside my partner's leg to a situation where I have my elbow inside my partner's hip and I lock that same 10-finger grip over my partner's hip like so. So now instead of having an outside knee-elbow connection or near connection, I have an inside knee-elbow connection where my elbow is inside my partner's hip instead of outside my partner's leg. And now my partner goes to face me. The hip is completely controlled. This will give her zero ability to work her knees to point towards me and to start facing me. This is an incredibly, incredibly controlling position. And now from here, we do the same thing where I take my ear to my partner's shoulder and I just walk the shoulder down to the floor. So I test my partner and I see how sturdy her base is. I can do this in two ways. I can do this with an elbow outside, which is great, but not the best. And then we can do it with an inside elbow, which is far superior, like so. And now from here, when she goes to start moving towards me, there's just no way she can do it. And I just turn and I put her back on the floor and we have our pass solidified. All right, so just as we talked about erasing that arbitrary line between locked and unlocked hands, it's the same idea with side body locks, okay? We're going to start testing our partner's base of support and trying to return her shoulder to the floor, whether we have an outside elbow or an inside elbow. There'll be many times where I go to return my partner's shoulder to the floor, and my partner will just keep walking the elbow back, and I feel like I run out of room here. All right, I can't get my partner's back on the floor. We kind of ended stalemated here for a second or two where I haven't really passed, but my partner can't really recover, and I'm like, well, how can I solidify a pass and actually attack this person? Whenever I see this, I'm going to make a snag on my partner's far wrist. There's one of two ways you can do this. Number one is if it's readily available to my right hand, I just catch the wrist, like so. Many times, a good player will have a good elbow position and the hand will be flared out and away. So the elbow position will be good enough where I can't knock them down and the hand will be too far away to actually get to. Whenever I see this, I just switch to a tight waist briefly and I just reach and I catch my partner's hand like so. I pull the hand towards me, I use a 2-on-1, and now from here, I just pull my partner's elbow towards me. People have asked me in the past, when I go to pull my partner's arm towards me, if I'm dealing with someone who's drastically bigger than me, there's so much weight in the elbow sometimes I can't pull the elbow towards me. Whenever I see this and there's too much weight in the elbow, just lean back and just pull your partner slightly towards you. That's all you need. Take a little bit of weight off the elbow, and then from there, it would just pull it in towards us. And now from here, we control our partner's far wrist. From this position, as always, our head moves to our partner's near shoulder. She's trying to keep her back off the floor. So from here, the shoulder's on the floor, and now I just walk my partner down to the floor, and now we have control of our partner's far wrist. If you want to release the far wrist, we pummel our hand to the inside position here. And now from here, we can move to the inside bicep tie. We can fight to go to the crossface, and we can relock in the previous fashion we'd looked at before. Okay? So from here, I feel like I can't return my partner's back to the floor as I did before with my head position. If I find my partner's hand is up on the floor and the elbow's off the floor, I just put the elbow on the floor. You can always do that. If the hand is readily accessible to me, we go in and we grab it. If it's not, we switch briefly to a tight waist. We come out and we catch. We pull the hand towards us. We switch to a 2-on-1. And now from here, we just pull the shoulder to the floor. Then we put our head on our partner's near shoulder, and we just walk that shoulder down to the floor. Now we can either stay with the wrist, and we can start looking to step over into mount to do things like that, or from here, we can take the inside position, and then we can start to work from there. So using a far wrist grab, we put our partner's shoulder on the floor, and ultimately 2 shoulder blades down to the floor and solidify our pass into side control. Let's look at backtracking and what it is. There's many times, and you see many people teach this, and you see many people train like this and compete like this. When someone gets past their partner's legs initially, they will do everything in their power to never be re-engaged into their partner's legs for the rest of the match or for the rest of that series of guard passing. This is the wrong way to think about things, and here's why. When I use a backtracking method, backtracking is stepping back into your partner's legs. So you're giving them a form of guard again. Okay, when you're already past your partner's legs, you step back into your partner's legs. Now, why would you ever want to do that? It's in hopes of passing in a different direction or taking your partner's back. So you backtrack into the legs, you give your partner some form of connection once again to progress your position to a further position, a higher position in the hierarchy of positions than you were originally looking at. I'm a big advocate of moving back into the legs with backtracking methods, provided you move back into some form of guard on your own terms. Not when your partner forces you back into guard, but when you willingly move back into their legs to advance your position to a further position than you originally wanted. Okay, so for example, we're going to look at now backtracking from a situation where I have my partner's hand like so, and I physically put my leg back inside my partner's legs, and I initially give her some form of guard, so where she goes to lock up my legs, and from here we can start going in and going into further passing or back taking and transitions from there. So just so you know, backtracking is moving back into your partner's legs and giving them some form of guard in order to advance your position into a better position than you originally wanted. All right, so let's look at backtracking into my partner's legs. Now, there can be many reasons why you want to backtrack. A lot of times it's because you want to have a better position than you originally intended. But it could just be because it could be a tactical reason. Maybe your partner's exhausted and you want to give them a hope of regarding, and then they move back into a half guard and then just instantly pass them again. It's very degrading for the person on bottom. Or maybe you get to a side body lock and it's ADCC rules and it's 30 seconds till points, and you want to put yourself back in half guard in a prime passing position where you have your partner's far wrist, and then the second points is on, boom, you pass their guard right away. So there's many reasons why you would want to go back into the legs. And if you want to play more of a long grinding game where you tire people out, or if you're doing it tactically because there's points or whatever the reason is, there's some reasons why we would want to do this. So let's look at first backtracking into a half guard scenario where we have this side body lock like so, and we're looking to get to our partner's far wrist. Okay, understand that we can once again we can play with the hands, the elbow on the outside or the elbow on the inside. And if at any point my partner goes to pull that elbow through, she has no base of support, and now she just pulls you into double underhooks and you pass your partner's guard. Okay, so we're playing between the inside elbow, which is always the best, and the outside elbow, which is amazing as well. Okay, now this time we're going to get to our partner's far wrist, and we're going to put her shoulder on the floor. We're going to start walking in this direction, and then we're going to step our leg in between our partner's legs like so. And we're going to allow our partner to reach up and over with her second leg, and we're going to allow our partner to lock us into a half guard like so. Okay? And now from here we have a choice of either going in with near side underhook passing and releasing the wrist. I generally recommend controlling the wrist. All right? And now we have an opportunity to pass right into mount. We have an opportunity to pass to the opposite side, where I can start putting my partner's shoulder on the floor. I can start tripoding. I can start bringing my knee through on this side. I can start passing. And now from here I can start coming in. I can start going into situations like so, where I can start shucking the wizard by. I have access to my partner's back. I can start going into back attacks. I can start going into mount. And we can pass to various sides by backtracking into the leg. We're not limited to just passing on this side. So we play a game where we force our partner to a side body lock, and then I present my leg to my partner. She thinks, oh, this is great. Let me lock a half guard. Yeah, you've locked a half guard, but what are you going to do with it? When she goes to free her wrist from here, this is a terrible position. And now from here, it's the easiest thing in the world to start playing a game where I can take an elbow and side. I can start going in like so. I can use various forms of leg riding from here. We can do a ton of different things from here. And it's the easiest thing in the world now to start making transitions where we start coming up and going into various different attacking positions, which we'll look at shortly. Okay, before backtracking into half guard, beating our partner to lock a half guard, but we're chest to chest, we have a far wrist control. It's just an awful, awful position. All right, so let's talk about backtracking now, but this time instead of going into half guard and then having to free your leg from half guard, we can just present our leg, and instead of going to half guard, we can just go into three-quarter mount instead, which will give us a lot more options, and we won't have to fight our way past the half guard and a talented player. So what this looks like is we're here, we get to a wrist, and now we either flatten our partner out or we just get to a wrist and we just present our leg to our partner. Now, your partner can only trap as much leg as you give them. If you bring the knee down towards your partner's hips, she can get the second leg around the top of the knee and she can trap above your knee. But if I keep my knee up like so and I have a knee-elbow connection, from here, your partner can only trap the lower leg. So I just pull my partner's shoulder to the floor and I just slide my left knee right to the ground from here. And now from here, we play a game where we can pretty much do whatever we want from here. We can go in and we can start cross-facing our partner. We can move to an underhook and a cross-face. We can flatten our partner out. We can pass them out. We can start coming in. We can knee slide across, and we can pass the side control on the opposite side. And now from here, we can go in and flatten our partner out. We can present our partner with the opposite leg. We can backstep, and now we can go into our partner's legs and start going into leg attacks. There's just so many different things that we can do from there. Backtracking this time into three-quarter mount, as opposed to backtracking into half guard and having to pass half guard. We just go right to three-quarter mount, and your partner can only trap as much leg as you give them. And let's say you mess up for whatever reason, and your knee comes in and she traps above the knee, you have a free hand to work with. You just put your partner's shoulder on the floor, you take an inside elbow, and you just drive the knee out. Now you're in three-quarter mount. It's just an embarrassingly easy position to work from. Like there's just nothing your partner can do from there. Now, let's say that we get hold of this far wrist, and obviously, if we put our partner's shoulder on the floor, and at any point the wizard comes out, and she goes to turn away from me, now we just put a shoulder on the floor, we move to a tight waist, go ahead, gotta get up. We move to a tight waist like so, and now we can either put our shoulder on the floor, and we can start playing a game from here, or we can release the wrist, and as she goes to get up, we play the same game where we put a hook in, just as we did before. So if at any point we get to that far wrist, there's not a whizzer in place, you just expose your partner's back. And you can do this by forcing your partner to expose the back. Go ahead. If I put the whizzer in, or she puts the whizzer in, and I'm not even engaged in my partner's leg, I can just keep pulling my partner towards me and walking towards my partner's head. And it's just so much pressure on your partner's shoulder, the whizzer has to come out. And now there's exposure in the back where we can use tight weights and my partner goes to come up, or we can start going in and taking my partner's back. Now, the downside to that is that you don't have an initial hook in. Your partner can turtle, and you have to fight to get a hook in as your partner's turtling. So one of the key things, and one of the advantages of backtracking, is that you can have your partner trap your leg in a guard, and that guard that she has will turn into one of your hooks. Okay? So you backtrack from a side body lock into the legs. I step into the leg, like so, and now I move to a 3/4 mount here. Now from here, she goes to keep a whizzer in as hard as she can. I just drive forward towards my partner's head. I pull my right elbow back like so, and I just drive my right shoulder forwards. The whizzer will always come out. I extend, I pull everything towards me first with my right elbow, then I just extend my right arm, and I just punch everything forward, and I turn my right shoulder in. First, I put tension. Then I extend the arm, I drive forward, and everything turns across the body. She goes to put a strong, strong whizzer. The whizzer will always come out. Now from here, we just put our ear in our partner's back and we take a claw grip. And now, once we have a claw, now instead of having to try to insert a hook, we have a hook in place already. That's why the backtracking is so important. We either have a leg between our partner's leg, where we have one hook in, or now from here, we just sit to our shin, we pull our partner across, we have a bottom hook in, we can insert a bottom hook, or a top hook rather, or we play a game where we take the leg out, we mount our partner first through the backtrack, and now as we pull our partner across, instead of having a hook in, we have a long hook which transfers to a body triangle, okay? So you now see, it's so important to get out of the mindset of, I passed the guy's legs, I can never re-engage. No. Backtracking can sometimes lead you to far greater positions than you even originally wanted. Passing your partner's guard is great, but riding them out for an extra 30 seconds while they're exhausting themselves, trying to re-guard, while you're racking up different points, I backtrack, I almost pass a guard, and then I backtrack into the legs, I'm in a half guard, then I mount them, I score more points, then I take their back, I score more points, and now I'm on their back ready to finish them. Okay, so this is super, super important concept to work with here. Backtracking and moving back into your partner's legs, but on your own terms, okay? So I get to the side body lock, I get to this wrist, and now from here, I present my leg to my partner, like so. And now I just put a 3/4 mount in place, and now when she goes to start keeping that whizzer in, the whizzer is the only thing between myself and her back. So I just put tension in, I extend, I turn, and the whizzer will always come off. And now from here, we're ready to go through, and we can play. We can play a game from here, where we either take our partner's back, or there's no reason why I can't free my leg first. And now, instead of having two hooks in, I have a body triangle in, which is even better, okay? So we backtrack into our partner's legs, and we can rack up points. You can make your partner miserable. It's just so exhausting. And she has to do something because she's getting wrecked on bottom. So she has to be fighting to get out of this position. And the whole time you're using zero energy, and you're just leading your partner into a deeper rabbit hole until you're eventually on their back and finishing them. So let's say we shoot to a side body lock, and our partner doesn't turn away, and I'm trying to get to her wrist, I'm trying to lock my partner down, and worst case scenario, my partner starts facing me and she inserts a knee. We looked at this a little bit before, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, this is where another example of front and body lock passing chaining together. Worst case scenario, we get to a situation where we lock up a side body lock and my partner manages to scoot the knee inside, and she brings the knee inside like so. No problem. Now we're in a traditional front body lock with the legs shelved, and we can start playing a game where we either step over a knee like so. We can start playing a game where we transition to that inside elbow, and we start playing a game where now we can start passing as we did before, and start doing all this stuff that we did in the beginning of the series, stepping over into half guard on the far side, forcing my partner, and we can pass in multiple directions once again. Okay, so worst case scenario, I shoot to a side body lock and I almost get there, or maybe I make a mistake and I'm overzealous moving towards the head. My partner inserts the knee, and we move into a perfect prime passing position with a front body lock with the legs shelved across, and we can start going into the previous passing series that we looked at earlier.